Hey, welcome back in the studio with me, Daxson. This time I'm going to be taking a look inside the Logic project of my remix for Markus Schulz under his Dakota alias. This track is Searching from his Nine Skies album, which came out at the end of 2017, I think. So this is going to be looking at my remix of that track, and it has just been released on Coldharbour recordings. So to start, I'll show you what the intro sounds like in case you haven't already heard it, and then I'll run through all the individual parts and tell you a bit about them. So starting at the top with the kick, I have two kicks in this project. The first one is a top kick with all the low end taken out, and that sounds like this. It's got quite a bit of compression on to get that sounding quite punchy. And the compression takes away even more of the low end. See that with and without the compression. To compensate for that, I've ended up boosting a bit more of sort of 150 region, just to bring back some of that low end that was lost during the compression. Let's turn the EQ off and I'll show you. Just here it comes back a little bit. The main sub of the kick comes from a different sample, and that sounds like this. The kick has all the high end taken off, and then just boosting some of the lower frequencies as well. So together the two kicks sound like this, and without the EQ and compression you'll hear that it just doesn't have that extra bit of punch to it. The sub bass for this one I've actually left in quite a lot of the high end. It just seemed to fill out a little bit of space that was needed. Usually my sub bass might sound a little bit like this. But yeah, I left all that area in for this one, and I've just got some R bass on it, which really boosts the sub, and I've got a side chain as well. So together the kick and the sub makes this groove, and that's the pattern of the sub there. So everything else in the intro works around that groove there. So I've got these two sort of, they're almost like a kick as well in itself, but they don't have any of the low end. It's been taken out there. They sound like this. And then with the main kick, it adds to the groove as well. Okay, so when I started this remix, I was sent all the stems from the original. So one of the stems that I used from Markus's was this ambient stem. I really liked that sound, so I decided I want to use it in the remix as well, but in a different way. So I've used it here as like a sort of glitching effect. I think I've used it in a few different places in the transitions, and then I've also used it, I made like a loop out of it as well. Doesn't really make sense by itself, but when you add everything else it starts to make sense. It's got some other techie percussion here. With these as well. Another bit of small detail as well, in this track I added in some like chopped up glitching white noise. Which again doesn't really make sense by itself, but with everything else just makes things a little bit more interesting. Got some drum fills down here with another glitching sound. Also got this sort of sidechain vocal sample run all the way through the intro, which again just fills a bit of space without it. You just notice that it's not there. So I've got a few different white noise sweeps, down sweeps, up sweeps, reverse crashes, and crashes as well, and some impact sounds and a snare. And then got some reversed sounds from the main lead. Things like that just help keep it interesting during transitions. So looking at the end of the intro then, the first bit that you hear as a first sort of hint of the melody is through these choirs. There's two choirs. One's from the EXS24 sample and the other's through Contact. And there's also this synth from Nexus. So while these are playing, all the bass line is just straight. It is just the root note of the track, which this one is E. And when it gets to this next section, a lot of the percussion does stop playing, so the hats aren't playing, the clap isn't playing, the kick starts to filter out, so the low end of the kick all comes away, same with the sub bass, and also the mid bass is filtered out as well. And in that section there's this pluck that comes in from the virus, which sounds like this. Got everything filtering out here towards the start of the breakdown, and also in this section here the chords of the mid bass are changing underneath that pluck, so it's not just playing the root note like at the start of the intro anymore. So when the breakdown eventually does start, again got the choir and this synth from Nexus, as well as a sub pad that comes in. So these are all parts from the original track. Got the pluck from the intro, but it's filtered down as well, and that filter opens up. Also got another pluck, again that's filtered down, as well as the rest of the main leads there. But really you can only notice this one. So I've used a plug from Spire, and to get this type of sound, as you can see, it's just wrote like that, but the lead has it's got something on the attack, as you can hear, which is very similar to what Markus had in the original track. Just find the stem of his main lead. So that's from the original track. To make this sound, I just got a normal pluck. And it's assigned to this cutoff filter here. But the only difference is, compared to a normal pluck, is that the attack is raised up a bit. And it's got a little bit of glide on as well. So this sound as well is heavily processed. I haven't got anything going on in Spire itself, but got it sent to a bus with some delay on and reverb as well. So that's the dry sound. It's got some EQ and compression as well, and then just some volume automation. So if you add these two on, see it just comes a little bit brighter. That's just taking out the low end, boosting some of the top. But then what really brings it to life is the delay and reverb. So it is a fairly straightforward sound to make. So if you want to make that sound in, say, like silent, just copy this into a new instrument with the same processing on for now. Solo this, make it in it. Okay, so yeah, you just make it like a normal pluck. But then you're bringing up this attack. So that'd be another way of making that something similar, but I did like this one. So in the end I bounced that out to audio. So moving on, also got the choirs down here as well that I filtered out, and then the pads start to build up too. Creates a nice atmosphere. So then in this section, the low end of the kick comes in, and as well as one of the ambient stems from the original track. It's from the original as well. The techie stabs start to filter in, and the leads are starting to build up as well. Now the kick starts to build with the snare rolls. Got a riser and another snare roll which pitches down. And then there's a big snare hit before the drop with this noise. The noise itself, it's got some automation on the sidechain so that when it first comes in it's not sidechain, then as soon as it drops the sidechain comes on. So the chord progression in the drop is different to the original track and to what I've got playing in the breakdown as well. As you can see at the start it just is on C and then changes up a bit, whereas in the actual drop I've changed the notes here to make it have a bit more of an uplifting feel, and it just didn't seem to work holding it on that C. So I've changed that for the pads and the mid bass and in the lead as well. So that plays for 32 bars, and then it goes into this pad section and it goes back into the original chord structure like this, and got some extra pads as well which are from the virus. They come in and the main lead doesn't play anymore there. And the hats stop in this section too. Really brought up the sound of the choirs here as well in volume. And the top part of the kick is starting to filter in down too. So you're only really getting the subby bit. So looking at the main lead processing, these are like some saw leads, and all I've got on them is some EQ to take out the low end and high end, really harsh bits. And then it's got a mag EQ on, give it some air. Also getting sent to a reverb bus there. It's got some reverb on the actual lead bus as well, and then it's got some sidechain. This sidechain, it's got the split mode switched on, which means that it's only going to sidechain the frequencies. It's only going to sidechain the frequencies below that, rather than sidechaining the whole sound. So I hope that you do like this remix and that you can support it. It is out now on Beatport, or you can stream it on Spotify, add it to your playlist if you like, and make sure to give me a follow on Spotify if you don't already, Daxson Music, or on Facebook, search for Daxson Music, I'm on there. And hope that you have learned something from this video, and if you do have any questions then don't hesitate to get in touch, and hopefully see you somewhere around soon.